Welcome to the Network Spotlight with Mikhail. On today's interview, Mikhail chats with Vladimir, the founder of ASPIS. ASPIS is a protocol for secure collective asset management within Web3. You'll learn about how Vladimir got into cryptocurrency, why he's so interested in smart contracts, and how ASPIS came about. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, follow, and hope you enjoy the show.
Hello, Mikhail.
Hey, Vladimir, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. What's new on your end?
Bunch of stuff. So closer to the release. Also, times becoming like more interesting, at the same time more challenges. So quite a lot is happening, and that's something that makes you feel alive, I guess.
Yeah, I was really excited to have you on because, based on our initial conversation, there were some things happening in the world from a regulatory standpoint where you felt like there might be too much centralization, and you came up with a few solutions to help combat that. So before I get into that, can you give us a quick background about how you got into crypto, how you got to be where you are now?
Okay, so basically, I always ask questions about the world and how everything worked. So from my childhood, I was like kind of curious about what are these talking heads are saying on TV and different like shows. Like everybody was discussing some fascinating stuff. I heard the word EBITDA like a couple of times, and I was like, oh, this is like finance. This is so complicated. This is like, I don't know. So first of all, curiosity. The second thing is that I always wanted to know how things are really work. So I was very passionate about physics and math when I was in a school. So that's the second point. So the third point is that there is some like social prestige, or let's say some jobs better valued than other jobs in terms of salary, energy, and social hierarchy, let's say. So I ended up in management consulting after the university, and also while I was reading a lot, I started to think, combining like all what I said together, I started to think about how this world actually works, and what is this big game of finance and real world, like how it works as it works, and who is like the president, who is like what is the bank is, and digging deeper, I saw a lot of different stuff. So I went up with Anarchy Manifesto and different stuff like this during my university years. Also, I was kind of interested in politics, so that's all together combined led me where I am right now, but in a more structured way. So my path was kind of maybe standardized. So I was interested in math. After school, I went to like top university in my country. After that, I went to top management consulting job. And after that, I became a little bit bored, and I came to crypto, but with all this knowledge applied from my previous fields of knowledge. So I think that's how it happens.
What was your first exposure to crypto? Was it Bitcoin like most other people, or did you find a different avenue?
I think that I mostly read, but didn't hold it for a long time, since first of all, I didn't have enough like let's say free money in my university years, and so I think that the first one was Ethereum, actually, because I was in the later stages. So I think that I got into crypto completely in 2018, 2019. So, and the Ethereum was already rocking during these years, and I found it really interesting, the smart contracts and stuff.
So what is it about the smart contracts that really piqued your interest?
I mean, during my last year in university, I was learning the game theory, and there were like puzzles, like principal and agent puzzle, and it seems kind of obvious for like everyone that there is difference in interest fields between the manager and the shareholder, and so I believe that also I knew a little about the banks and how they work. So I think that, okay, so maybe all these people servicing and having these high salary are not so needed, and that we can program a lot of different stuff and make it more efficient since they'll less be subjective. And also like from the place where I came from, I mean, it's very common that people wants to be in a certain position to, and it's actually socially maybe not even as bad to like maybe abuse some power, where some people are going to these directions. So that was something important to me also. So I thought that this is like kind of huge because also I mean, during my experience with people, I found it out that it's actually something that, I mean, every person has certain some, I think, that makes him think in a certain way, that he can take this sum, for example, where he can run away or something. And I don't think this is bad. I think that this is kind of real. And I didn't try to avoid it, but I tried to understand this, and I started thinking how we can build this to counting this, calculating this, and not giving this thing away. So basically,
Speaking of building, something that you're currently building right now is ASPIS, which essentially is designed to help manage assets for DAOs, right? That's the nutshell. I know there's a lot more components to it, but in a nutshell, that's what it does. How did you come up with this idea? Why did you feel like there was a need for this right now?
This is I think that you're making it really good since like the story built up and we came to this moment. So that's something I was working on subconsciously, maybe because looking back, I couldn't actually. I think I didn't have a plan as it seems right now, to be honest. Sorry. Okay, so the main thing about ASPIS is instead of punishing for a fraud, let's say, instead of making bad person feel bad after he did something, why not to give him the opportunity to behave badly in the first place? So, and I started thinking about this prevention. We came to the ASPIS, and ASPIS is more on that. ASPIS is, let's say, the vehicle for startups, funds, for everybody. So basically, the main thing in ASPIS is that it utilizes all this huge experience of corporate regulation and I mean, of history, because their regulation is something, as we learn, built on the blood, we say, on the cases. So, and you cannot ignore this history of all the human civilization, let's say, because all the laws actually make sense, because otherwise, and I mean, what we are having right now is kind of okay, because it's, if we will look at how it, if we compare the current life with something happened like 150 years ago, or like 500 years ago, it's much safer and much more abundant place with less poverty and more food and more happy actually people. And so we're not fighting against it. So we are utilizing it, but instead of, let's say, and we're making it better. So basically, we are optimizing already existing relationship and already existing regulation and laws to a programmable smart contracts. And so basically, scientifically talking, we are decreasing the transactional cost of global economy by decreasing the risk of fraud and by decreasing the subjectiveness and double standard. So basically removing hypocrisy from the decision makers, because there are a lot of studies showing that even judges can be replaced by the automatic basic ML algorithms, which have the better outcome on predicting if the person will be given, I forgot this English name, that when something is doing bad, he given the opportunity to pay some sum and they can walk away, for example, until this period ends. And there was some scientific paper these actually studied this and learned that instead of any subjection of the people who has a lot of different biases like cognition bias or different biases, it's better to trust to the numbers. And basically that's what we do.
So it sounds like you take real life use cases and real regulations and apply some of these rules into, like, you build them into the smart contract.
Yeah, so basically, instead of, for example, regulation that says that this is your like share of the company, or this is the financial transaction that or salaries which CEO wants to pay to the company, for example, we're making this more transparent, more reliable, and more trustful. So basically giving back the shareholders the opportunity to vote freely, openly for the decision making, be accountable for these decisions, see the results of this decision, and restricting the amount of fraud in the space in the first place.
Do you think that there's any human element that is missing with going this route where everything's built within the smart contracts?
We are not removing human element here because we're still giving the people to the opportunity. The only thing we are trying to fight with is this is the transactional cost of the transaction. So basically, if you will increase the cost of the transaction, is the implementation cost and execution cost. So, and the difference between the first and the second. So if you will make it direct execution instead of making it subjective execution like it works right now, for example, even right now in a company, I can restrict or write some restrictions on manager's operations, but somehow he can still make this transaction in a bank work, for example, or something worse. And we still give the decisions to the people since they vote. And we're not removing this human factor, but we are making people accountable and we're making the execution inevitable. The difference between our protocol and other voting mechanisms like on snapshots or different systems like that is that this is more close to the survey monkey, when you're just creating the proposal, people vote on them, and still the treasury holder, for example, or the accountant can either do or not. So we are removing this factor and making the application and execution of each transaction irreversible and irresistible, basically in hardcore blockchain terminology, in ideology.
And how would this apply to something like a guild? Basically, I saw on your Twitter that you guys are partnering with a guild. So I'm very curious to know, how does that relationship work? Where do they come in and help?
Basically, this is a very good question. Why we should choose the guild as a pilot? Because there is micro world and macro world, let's say. So there is like macro world is that all these like big financial institutions like governments, central banks, then goes companies. And we decided that there is no difference between the big corporation or VC, let's say, from the mechanics point of view with the GameFi guild, because they still have the shareholders, they still have the managers, they still have assets, they still need to distribute these assets freely and fairly. And all these tasks which they currently have, like in a small games and virtual games, they are actually modeling all their real world. And if we will start by this huge actually community of like more than let's say 1,000 people, or how much people there, and if they all be using our protocol at the same time, and if it will show that it's fair and at this scale it will work, right? And if they will see that, so we can scale it upward. So I mean, this is why, because they still have the same functions as everyday business do, as each VC firm do. And this is a very good example of heavily operationally involved business with a lot of people involved.
Speaking of something that's heavily involved, you talk about some of these rules that you're building into the smart contract. What went into building out these smart contracts? How much of a challenge was it for you and your team to create these?
It still is. So we're still close to the release, but there is always like something we need to improve on. So I mean, it is challenge heavily, because it all started with the Ethereum and Ethereum Classic. So that was the DAO, which was the first try of this public organization that started really global. And me personally, I think that here like was the main mistake here was of the scale. So when you're trying to build something like this, it's better to start with less risk tolerance. I mean, more risk tolerance and less risk involved. So that's why we, for example, starting with the GameFi guilds, and so then moving forward. But during the building of the ASPIS, we basically, I think that we met all these challenges and used a lot of different stuff. So actually, it's not like we built everything ourselves. So we used all the experience which currently there is in the market. So we took the, let's say, Aragon V1 contracts, which already operates by a lot of DAOs. Then we integrated the frame wallet and the second Aragon model, the agent. After that, we integrated Gelato, for example, so our smart contracts can be called on a daily basis. We also looked at like different protocols, how they operate. We looked at like different chains, trying to migrate this, make it multi-chain. We also like used some subgraph, and I mean, instead of using the backend, we use subgraph. And basically, I think that was a very educative project, to be honest. And I would say that it wasn't hard. It was really interesting and really exciting, since we integrated so much different components from different systems that, I mean, it's the best way to learn something is to actually apply it. So hopefully this will be like a huge success. And I think, but I mean, speaking about me, I learned so much here. So I'm very grateful for this project, and that I took my courage to start building it. And we're building it for like more than 1 year, I think, right now. And yeah, so this was my magnum opus, I think. This is.
I would imagine one of the challenges is also keeping up with the needs that a lot of these large communities have. Do you come in contact with a lot of them to kind of understand firsthand what kind of challenges they're having, and then try to create your smart contracts, try to create your protocol around those specific needs?
Here goes, yeah. So we already have like 10 clients which are already waiting for the final push to be released to start utilizing it. We of course involved a lot of them, but to be honest, this situation with the market basically freeze a lot of the activities, and a lot of our potential clients are actually right now in the position not of the developing and looking for the new ways of enhancing and learning and developing, but on shrinking, on restructuring, and on this stage. So I would rather say that we took part of this from the existing examples, but the other thing is that a few people understand what smart contracts are actually capable of. So, and there is still a lot of, I would say, pressure from the market that people are afraid of using such big system, especially with the DAO outbreak and this hack, which caused basically the disintegration of this huge network. And a lot of recent hacks happened during like 1 or 2 years ago. And I mean, it was 50% creativity and 50% of actually finding this need. So I would rather say that this is like a hybrid of my vision of my teammates and the existing market needs. And of course, you need to educate the market, since when you are the first, you need to teach people how to use that, how to use this. And of course, this goes with the client development. And we believe that the DAO will grow stronger with the current like economic situation and with what's going on and WTF going on in the world. And I think that more people will start going decentralized, less worried about, let's say, regulation, and more worried about like WTF it is.
Yeah, and you mentioned that you're very big on politics, and
No, I'm not very big on politics. Sorry.
Oh, I thought you said that you enjoy politics in the beginning of the conversation.
Yes. I mean, I used to be interested in politics during my university years, but I wasn't heavily involved in it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, a lot of people know what's going on geopolitically right now, and a lot of that is having an impact on the entire market. And nobody here is Nostradamus, right? We certainly don't know what the future brings. But do you have your own opinions in terms of where you see this market going here within the next few months or years?
I think that actually adoption is growing. So I see more people starting like asking me questions, asking questions to my friends, asking more, utilizing crypto on day-to-day payments. And I think that we all started to see that, okay, so even if this like regulation make such things happen, so that means that maybe something wrong with it. And if it happens, and if it's happened with the existing law, so maybe there is some way to turn this around and to start thinking differently. So to be honest, I think that the key things that future will bring during these economic times is that first of all, people will understand the value of Web3 in the first place, because Web3 is not about the cool interface or seamless UX or like some fancy smoothie startups. It's more about like independency, sovereignty, and it's more about like taking accountability for our own lives and for lives of the people we interact in the world. The second one is the adoption is growing. So the first one is that the first one about the Web3, I think that it's not priced yet into the market in general. So we will see, because with the more restrictions, with the restriction to transferring funds of and the currency regulation, and the more inflation is happening, and the more restrictions happening, the more value we see in the possibility of freely transact with each other, and even with the institution, and participating in a fixed currencies markets. So that's the first thing. The second is adoption, because of the first at the same time. And I think the third one is the number of real good applications growing, actually. So all these startups, all this field, the Web3 is a new one, and it takes time to develop the market itself, to develop the good product. And I think that in coming years, we'll see a lot of great products going into the market with the more people can use this, because it takes some time to educate the people as well to, for example, in our platform, to integrate it with the wallet, to like connect your wallet, to participate in it. And the more cool stuff is also going into the market. For example, we integrated EPNS recently. So each time the voting happens on our platform, if the user is holding some of its tokens, he will receive the notification right in his Telegram or on the dashboard in our platform that, hey, something is happening with your funds on the DAO. Go and check out. And this is something that cannot be made like 1 or 2 years ago. And this is just one example of how the technology is rapidly growing. So these three things, again, is the first one is the pricing of the freedom will be included in the price of the crypto. The second one, the adoption is growing. And the third one, the more cool applications will be going live.
Yeah, I do think that we're just scratching the surface when it comes to technology around smart contracts and all the different use cases and what we're able to do. So really excited to see what the future holds for the market. Really excited to see what the future holds for ASPIS. Vladimir, where can people learn more about what you're building?
I think that it's a good start to subscribe to our Twitter and read more articles about in our mirror, and maybe go through our Git book if they're heavily interested in how it really works. Since I think that we covered the major of questions currently, and unfortunately, our beta right now is in closed testing. But if someone interested, he can leave the application, and we will give the access if he wants to deploy a DAO or trying to use it or integrate in his business, let's say.
Yeah, certainly recommend everybody to go and follow ASPIS at ASPIS Protocol. And Vladimir, you guys do a really good job of updating the community about all the development that's happening. So really, really nice to see that, and looking forward to seeing what's new for you guys. Thanks so much for the time today.
Thank you. Appreciate it. You're really making a good storyteller and story listener, because how you ask questions, it really came like down from, oh, okay, I didn't even know that I was doing all this from this plan.
Yeah, no, it's thank you for that feedback. It's something that I enjoy. Ever since I started working like business to business, I've always found a way to find interest in what I'm doing, especially when it's revolved around Web3. I also come from like the traditional world. I came from a finance background, so I was in banking, and completely dropped everything to come into and join this crypto movement. So for me personally, I wouldn't do that unless I was really passionate about what I was doing. And so when I get an opportunity to meet people like you and talk to all these amazing builders, I mean, essentially we are on the cutting edge of technology, and you guys are in the forefront of things, and I'm just happy to be along for the journey. And I know that I have a lot of questions, and I know that a lot of people in the community have a lot of questions. So I'm just kind of like the messenger asking the questions. So I appreciate the time and the feedback.
That's really important, because everything that exists is the story. And I think that the right story told can explain a lot more than the documentation. Like, it's we developers who always like looking for documentation, and we used to read it, but from general users perspective, it's okay, there is too much buzzwords and no one is paying me for that, so why should I do that? So it's always better to like have this interesting story with ethos, and yeah, really respect it. And I really respect it. I think that this is something that undervalued in the Web3 community right now. Everybody is trying to build something or compete in the startup world with, and we're forgetting, for example, in religious or in every idea, how much power needed to spread the word and to make people believe and to understand something. So really appreciate for that and for what you're doing. And I hope that more people like you will go to the public and spread the word about it, because that's definitely what we need to accept the, I don't know, the building. We always need these missionaries.
Yeah, really appreciate that feedback, Vladimir. You're absolutely right. I get it, right? Right now, the builders, it's the time to build. And in order for us to be able to share these stories, you have to build something first, right? So you guys are doing the building, and then people like me that's in the background, not as tech savvy, but we're more than happy to tag along for the ride and share that story. So thanks again for your time. And yeah, we should do this again soon.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye.